Very good evening. You're watching the Free Press Journal live on YouTube. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. The Indian Armed Forces have struck at terror hubs in Pakistan through Operation Sindoor in the early hours of this morning to deliver justice to the victims of the Pahalgam terror attack and their families. 9 terrorist camps in Pak-occupied Kashmir have been demolished. They have been successfully destroyed. India's response on Wednesday, that is early this morning, is not just about a response to the Pahalgam attack. In fact, those of us who listen to the press briefing carefully realize that this is being pitched as a reply to a string of attacks since 2001. And India has changed the causal chain that links Pakistan with terrorism in this country. What it has done is it has framed Sindoor as the reply to the entire series of attacks, the last one being the Pahalgam terror attack. I'm going to introduce here on the program Brigadier Rumel Dahiya, who's a distinguished Indian Army veteran with over 32 years of experience in the service, renowned for his strategic acumen and contribution to defense studies. Brigadier Rumel Dahiya, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Also joining me this evening is Jayanta Chowdhury, senior journalist and columnist. Mr. Chowdhury is also a columnist for the Free Press Journal. He serves as editor-in-chief at the Secretariat and contributes op-eds, opinion pieces to Free Press Journal, among other publications. Thank you, gentlemen, both of you. Thank you so much. I want to begin with you, Brigadier Rumel Dahiya. If I can start with what I heard in the press briefing, India has described Sindoor as focused, measured, non-escalatory in nature. I must underline the fact that the press briefing stated we are not targeting military installations. We are targeting terror infrastructure. For a regular viewer, what does this mean, Brigadier?
Afrida ji, the selection of targets was very clear, intent, showing of intent that, look, we are after terrorism and after the terrorist camps, the handlers of terrorists and the like. There is infrastructure in Pakistan. And our purpose is not to escalate. Our purpose is not to trouble the people. Our purpose is not to fight a war with Pakistani army. Despite being stronger, we don't want war. What we simply can't tolerate is terrorism directed against our people. We have tried every trick in the trade, everything in the book to avoid confrontation, avoid conflict. We have, even our Prime Minister has gone unannounced and at a short notice to then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's house in trying to make peace. Prime Minister Vajpayee at Minar-e-Pakistan said, we realize the reality of Pakistan as a separate state. And despite that, in order to justify terrorism, some interested parties, vested interests in Pakistan, primarily their army, has been saying that India is an existential threat to them. Now, they say this about India, but they don't stop provoking us every other day. So they probably have thought that they can keep doing it to us, and that there is a high threshold of tolerance in India. They will keep tolerating this, and they will not raise it. So whenever we talk tough, then they start saying that, well, both the countries are nuclear armed nations, and they try and then blackmail the world into putting pressure on us not to take any action against Pakistan. I think what we have done is that in a very measured way, we have told them where to get off. We told them that we are not accepting this kind of a narrative, that we will strike back in case you continue with this kind of malign behavior. And this time, I think the selection of target itself speaks volumes about what our intentions are.
And I'll come to you, Brigadier, on the selection of targets specifically, because each one of them have been chosen. This is not some sort of an arbitrary, indiscriminate attack. It has been planned meticulously and executed also very effectively. I'll come to the selection of targets. I want to introduce Mr. Jayanta Chowdhury as well. Mr. Chowdhury, this is your line from an article that you wrote for Free Press Journal recently, that Indian government should take resolute, relentless action, not lash out in reckless anger. And I find it interesting that that's precisely what seems to have happened. Did you see this coming and in this manner, that there will be a mature response?
I did see it. Something would be happening. Obviously, I could not have said it to be a missile strike. So, frankly speaking, that was a big possibility. I really thought it would possibly a missile strike from a naval asset, rather than from what they have done. They have used drones mostly, and I think from aircraft they have launched some missiles from within our territory. So the drones, what the Pakistanis have been claiming that they have shot down, is really would have been at the most, if they have at all shot down anything, would have been a drone, because as far as I understand, Brigadier Dahiya would be able to tell us better about it. None of our aircraft cross the line of control or the normal international border that we have. You are right about it. We needed to do something. Otherwise, they will keep doing it. They will keep attacking us, and we will, we will. How long can you, even 26/11, we showed maximum restraint. Maximum restraint. I don't think any country would have shown the kind of restraint that we did, and we did well in that sense because we cornered them. Globally, Pakistan was cornered. It was branded as a terrorist state. And a lot of things happened after that. FATF sanctions, if you remember, 2009, the first FATF sanction came against Pakistan, which really did a horrible thing to their economy. Pakistan's economy is today one of the worst performing economies in Asia, and mainly because from then onwards, Pakistan's economy has been in a downswing. Today, Pakistan's currency is 281 rupees 75 paise or something to the dollar. Ours is 84. We are crying it is 84. That means 3.5 Pakistani rupees is equal to an Indian rupee. It's in a very bad shape. High unemployment, high inflation. I really feel bad about for my Pakistani friends, and believe me, I have a lot of Pakistani friends, and they are the same people as us. And you and I, actually, we are the same people. It's that unnecessarily their leaders have forced it into us into a situation where it's they tell their people that unless and until you hate India, you cannot be a Pakistan. That is the worst part of how can neighbors if you hate each other. So anyway, to cut a long story short, let's not get into that kind of jargonism. The point is we needed to teach them a lesson. I think we have done something. Of course, they can retaliate. That part of it, which they said today, non-escalatory, whatever, I don't go by that. Any action that you take can escalate, that can be escalated, depends on what Pakistan does. But luckily for us this time, or maybe it was part of the design, is the fact that instead of last time, like the world was on us, don't take action, don't take action. The world is now on Pakistan's back. You have the Iranian foreign minister sitting in Islamabad right now. You have had the Americans ringing them up twice a day. So they have a problem now.
Right. Brigadier, let's come to the point about the selection of targets that you said. India has made a distinction, the terrorist infrastructure and Pakistan military targets, in order to perhaps, give a semblance of some escalation control. Was this important? As Mr. Chowdhury also puts it, there's an international community which is now, in a way, woken up to the fact that, yes, here is a nation that has backed terrorists, and India needs, quite a bit of a support from its so-called allies as well. Will this help, is what I'm trying to get at, in rising our stature in the international community, that we have given a decisive response, yet it does not violate any sort of, international decor or decorum?
All right. Now, if you see last 2-3 years, the stronger countries, when they feel that their interests are at stake, they are ready to take risks and go against international norms, the laws of war and everything else. And I won't name the countries, but you know it very well, the conflicts that are going on. And they're doing what they like, irrespective of humanitarian laws or international laws or anything like that. Which means that countries are very seriously privileging their national interests over international laws. India, on the other hand, has still been saying this is not the time for war. And we want to live by that word, that we don't want to start a war. But at the same time, we are a responsible country even in 2019 when we limited the operations. Of course, it was much narrower operation, just one sort of target was hit. This time, we escalated the number of targets, expanded the operation number of targets. But since then, we also acquired the capability of precision strike. Last time, you remember, people were going around saying that Jabba Top was not properly hit that there were some crows that were killed and things of that nature. And this time, so we not only increased our capacity to deliver munitions in a precise manner, but we have also gone beyond, and we have been smarter in communicating our sort of achievement. In that, we have produced visuals which are undeniable by anybody. Yeah. So the whole world now knows that India has really struck. They promised openly, they said, we'll chase them to the end of the earth, and we have done that. So that is one. It clearly shows that we have political will. And this political will, is an extremely important trait of a country if it is to be taken seriously. Otherwise, people will walk all over you. But once they know that you have the capability, and you have the political will to use that capability in your furthering your interests, then I think the world starts taking you more seriously, and that's the case today. So we have by being right about, we were victims, rightly so. We have the proof, and the proof is not just today's proof. The proof has been going on since early 80s. So we have the proof that we are subjected to terrorism by Pakistan, and it's a state-sponsored terrorism. And it is as a matter of state policy, so that the world is convinced in any case. I don't think any country like Turkey or maybe China, if they want to deny it, they want to deny it for their own personal particular reasons, not because they will.
Yeah, but about what happens next, there's some crucial questions I want to address with you about military preparedness and military capability. But I want to bring in Jayanta Chowdhury again on the point about how the entire nation has reacted to this. It's not just about the military response in a way. If you see in the immediate aftermath of the event, there were tourists still visiting. There was a resistance. The Kashmiri people came out and said this should not be in our name. There were very mature speeches by the regional leaders like Omar Abdullah, Sajjad Lone. So, and this is something you have written about as well, I feel, that in a way, India has been mature, not just from the perspective of the military or the government, but the people of this country has shown restraint. And that message also goes across, isn't it? In contrast, look at the barbarity, look at the insanity of the Pak-backed terrorists, where they have simply slaughtered unarmed people, Mr. Chowdhury.
Yeah, and I think the biggest victory that we have had is to prove our credentials, that we are Indians and we are united as Indians. See, the killing, obviously, there was a targeting because of on whatever grounds they were trying to target, on religious grounds. We did not respond in a religious manner. We responded as a nation.
Yeah.
So you had leaders from all walks, all communities, all walks of life, all region, who said we are Indians and you have killed Indians. And that is inexcusable.
Exactly.
So this is the same philosophy that the Americans have always taken. If you remember, Americans were the first one who did this. In Morocco, in the 19th century, they led an attack into Morocco simply because one of their citizens' wife was kidnapped by a Moroccan leader who was related to the king of Morocco. The king and that bandit leader actually were at odds, but still the Americans went in, they stormed the place. At that time, the Moroccan king couldn't actually, he didn't never expected the American Marines to arrive in Morocco, but they did. And they said, unless and until that lady is handed over to us, we will see to it that your country learns a lesson. And they managed to do it, and the Americans have followed the same policy. Actually, that is not a bad policy. It does sound very, Western style, cowboy style kind of a policy. But unless you do that in this kind of a tough neighborhood, and let's accept it, we live in a very, very tough neighborhood.
Yeah, and even hats off to Himanshi, the likes of Himanshi Narwal, the wife of one of the victims, who said, please don't target the Kashmiris, please don't target the Muslims. I mean, those messages coming from people, has also gone a long way to show that we are not reckless. We are not
we are united as a one nation. I think that is the most important lesson that we can draw. Regardless of which region you are from, which religion you follow, you are one and one. You are one Indian. Which is why the Indian passport never gives anyone's caste. It never gives anyone's religion. Yeah. We are Indians and we have to treat them as Indians. Any Indian killed anywhere is an Indian who has been killed by a terrorist organization or a foreign state, and we have to take action accordingly.
If you noticed, the media briefing by two women officers, Colonel
Yes, one was a
Sophia
Muslim lady and one was
and
a
Wing Commander, yes,
Yomika.
yes, indeed.
Hanyamika Singh.
She's
So,
uh,
absolutely, that message, that itself is a message, along with Foreign Secretary Vikram
Absolutely.
Misri.
Absolutely.
It shows a picture of what we are and how we stand united, and across religions. We have the top officers in the defense forces, and don't even try to divide us on the basis of religion. I thought that was a very emphatic message, Mr. Chowdhury.
Indeed, it was, and we have been trying to drive home that message since quite a long time. It's 1965. If you remember, the first Paramveer Chakra was again an artillery JCO from who was a Muslim. So this is a
Yeah,
lesson. Our army is again not a unidirectional army. It is a
yeah,
force. It's an all India army from all
yeah.
religions, all walks of life, in all regions. Actually, the
Mm,
greatest
mm.
contribution that General Jain Chaudhary managed to give us was not the 65 war, but the fact that he increased the size of army without compromising on the standards of the army and making it into an all India fighting force. Before that, if you remember,
Mm.
Dahiya will bear me out. It was a
Yes.
caste, it was a region-based regiments.
Mainly.
Banned them,
Mainly,
we
yes.
kept them, but all the new regiments, all the extra battalions that were formed were all India regiments and all India battalions,
Absolutely.
which is
Absolutely.
what is the great strength of India, which is why in 71 and 1965 we won those great victories.
Mm, mm. So then let's understand from Brigadier Rumel Dahiya on how are we placed now? What happens next? Are we expecting a retaliation? What is the level of military capability of India vis-a-vis Pakistan?
Okay, first, let me just add to what what Jayant has said. First is
Hmm.
that we spoke like Indians in one voice, and
Yeah,
we expressed our disappointment with Pakistan's behavior
yeah,
in one voice. And I think most notable was Mr. Owaisi himself, and very robustly sort of
yeah,
putting across the
absolutely.
point of view. Mr. Shashi
Hmm.
Tharoor, much above party lines and things like that. So I think that was wonderful. We have also done the smart messaging by making people feel that we are responsible stakeholders, and the other side is reckless. And that's the reason
Hmm.
why when Pakistan went in for UNSC closed door consultations, they never
Yeah,
expected that the world at large will be getting after them for their malignant behavior,
yeah.
and for testing missiles at this time, and also
Hmm.
threatening use of nuclear weapons. The Pakistanis did not realize that all that they were doing was actually adding to their misery.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the bad communications. Now coming down to what next. I think
Hmm.
the National Security Advisor has spoken to his counterparts of P5. He has spoken to National Security Advisor of Saudi Arabia and UAE.
Hmm.
The Emir of Qatar has spoken to our Prime Minister.
Hmm.
Each one of them he has told each one of them that as far as India is concerned, I think we have taken this action because Pakistan had committed this heinous act against our civilians, and
Hmm.
if Pakistan wants to escalate it, then we will come down very heavily on them.
Hmm.
So this is a message that has been conveyed in person, and this has been announced that this message has been conveyed, which means nobody can deny that we were told this. So India, if in case Pakistan wants to escalate it, and if it escalates, I mean, we are getting very sort of a different kind of voices. Mr. Khwaja Asif says that, look, if India doesn't continue this, then we will not retaliate, which is a very welcome thing to say, actually. But the
Hmm.
problem is that how to trust an adversary who keeps going back on their words.
Yeah.
That's a problem, and we don't want to become complacent and then tomorrow saying, "Oh my God, what has happened again? Why did we trust them?" So we have to
Hmm.
be very, very careful and not be complacent. But I'm sure in a situation like this, there are interlocutors they are back
Yeah.
channel interlocutors who convey the message, who give guarantees of certain things. And if that kind of a thing happens, I think India will be happy to say that, look, we never intended it to go to war. We don't want to go to war. War is against our interests also, because our economy will be hurt. Our people will be killed. For example, if 10 people were killed in Punch Rajouri area today, they were our citizens, and even one is too many. So we don't want our civilians to be killed. In case of war, there will be collateral damage.
There will be casualties.
So we don't want. We also don't want to kill Pakistani citizens just like that. We didn't do it yesterday.
Yeah.
We of course happened to kill 14 of the relatives of Masood Azhar, and Masood Azhar was seen crying when he doesn't mind killing a large number of people elsewhere and all that, but when his own relatives are killed, then the guy starts crying. So, and I was reminded.
So India is basically navigating around this very carefully because it has an answer now. Even if it is questioned on the international front, it will say, well, we have targeted terror hubs of JEM, Hizbul Mujahideen, of Lashkar-e-Toiba. These are terror structures. There are training camps, known training camps. And in fact, the briefing actually showed where Kasab was trained and the likes of Kasab who targeted Mumbai. So there again, India has drawn a distinction, and by doing so, it has, I would say, elevated itself in the entire narrative, saying this is where we have struck. We have not gone into your civilian areas or even to your military targets, or neither do we have an intention of waging a war. But we need to demolish these terror camps because you won't do it. We cannot trust you to be doing it.
Absolutely. Another message that goes is this. It's quite possible that these terror camps, some of these terror camps would have been emptied out after this, in the anticipation that India might do something. And the ones which are closer to the border, LC, just 10 kilometers away or something, or in Kotli or somewhere, they would have possibly emptied them out. But the bigger message is this. We know where you are. We will get after you when we want, in case required. So therefore, don't feel safe. And that is the bigger.
And if you can't act, we will. That's also another message, isn't it? We will appeal to you to act against what is there in the Pakistani soil. But if you repeatedly fail to do it, leave it to us.
We'll get after you wherever you are. And now use of storm shadow missiles and all that with 250 kilometers range. So obviously, fight from our own territory, much deeper into territory, because Bahawalpur is the farthest objective, so we fight from our territory. So we said we can get you wherever we want. You raise the NT. We can do that too.
But I'm glad, Brigadier, you are not doing any warmongering here, because I was expecting you to say that our military capability is much higher and we have the Rafales and we can. But you are being so mature and so restrained. That again exemplifies what we are as a nation.
Let me tell you something else. Nobody hates war more than an army man. It's basically because the consequences of the war are faced by his colleagues, himself, and his family. So nobody hates war more than. But fighting a war and to fight to win a war in the cause of the nation is a soldier's credo. A soldier is supposed to do that. He's meant to do that. And that's his professionalism requires that. But at the same time, I don't want to harm a civilian. We went into Bangladesh in 71 and Chief's message was clear. No woman would be touched. No Pakistani prisoner will be ill-treated. Take care of each one of them. Maintain your honor and dignity. Now, that's how Indian Army works. We don't want to go and kill people.
You never set aside humanity altogether. You always retain that dignity.
Absolutely not.
One last question to both my guests, and I'll start with you, Mr. Chowdhury, that what would be your final analysis? Is Operation Sindoor effective? Is it an effective deterrence? And I also want to know, how will we tackle the radical elements within the country? Because time and again it is coming up that there was local support. There are radicalized elements in Jammu and Kashmir who taps into the army movements and passes information, and that has also aggravated matters. So these two things I want to ask both my guests. Yes, Mr. Chowdhury.
So very quickly, two things. One is, besides the effects that you already spoke about, one is we have highlighted once more that Pakistan is lying when it says that they have dismantled terrorist camps, they have put all the terrorists behind bars. That's a fake story, because your Jaish-e-Mohammed leader Masood Azhar, who is a UN designated terrorist, is now coming on TV talking about how his family has died. Obviously, he's around and his people are around. That's one big story. And he's the
Similar thing with Sajid Mir also, isn't it? Who was involved in 26/11 and later he surfaced. Initially, Pakistan declared him dead.
Absolutely. These are very important things. We have highlighted this to the world again, that terrorism is alive and kicking, it's not dead. Just don't think that because the Afghans thing is solved, it's not solved actually, they are alive. That's first thing. Secondly, yes, how do we handle this entire element of radicalization? Obviously, there is radicalization going on. We have to stop it. We have to do it in a different way. We have to lead a movement of de-radicalization. That does not mean you go around shooting people or just catching hold of people randomly. You have to obviously you have to target people, you have to follow people, you have to see who is doing what. But the larger movement of de-radicalization is important. You should see to it that youth are not misled, and those youth can be from any community, any religious or sectarian community. We have to see to it that we have to de-radicalize. And in a larger way, we have to de-radicalize not only in India, but in the entire region. We are a region which is surrounded by other countries who have to be friendly with us. We cannot rise on our own alone. If our neighborhood remains troubled as it is, Bangladesh, which was doing so well, which was actually a model state, it was actually its GDP had started growing at a faster pace than ours for some time, has suddenly become a very radicalized place. You can see the kind of voices that are coming.
Yeah, there is hostility on that front as well now.
Yeah, luckily everybody is not hostile. Most Bangladeshis are actually friends of India. It's just a small community which is hostile, which was there even in 1971. Nobody. In 1971 also, you have to realize 30% of Bangladeshis were in favor of Pakistan. They remain alive. Nobody shot them dead. You can't kill so many people. It's not possible. So their descendants, ideological descendants. So we have to de-radicalize the entire region. That's the main solution.
True. I mean, very well said. No, last word to you, but before, let me just put this also across that, at this point of time, what we are looking at is that, the motive was probably seeing the peace in Kashmir, and that does not suit certain sections in Pakistan to have Kashmir integrated. So that agenda is very clear. Somewhere we have to subvert that as well, for which, again, like I said, those radical elements who go that way because of not finding employment, or still feeling alienated, whatever the cause may be, that must be addressed as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. The economic root cause has to be handled.
Two additional points that we make here. One is, like you said, that there are some people supporting. Obviously, when these terrorists came and struck in Basran Valley, they did not paradrop. They were present there, around that area, and obviously they were surviving with the support of some people. And thereafter, they have not been caught so far or eliminated so far. So obviously, somebody is helping them to survive. Somebody is giving them food. So obviously, there is a network of people. May not be large number of people.
The OWGs, the overground workers, OGW, sorry,
OGW. There are there. So there is a network. So that is one part undeniable. The second part also is that, having worked in Nagaland, Punjab, and this thing, my personal experience suggests that people's loyalties are not really permanent. People try to be on the winning side, except some people who are deeply committed to it, maybe because of finances, maybe because of their ideological commitment or something like that. Majority of the people try and go towards the winning side. And at a strategic plane, India is winning. Because if you remember, last year, the total number of casualties were 123 or something, of which 79 were terrorists. So if this kind of a casualty, let me put it this way, Mr. Jan Chowdhury would not mind it, that so many people get killed in Birbhum in a year. In one district of West Bengal, and this is the whole state that we are talking about. So therefore, strategically, India is winning. That the other side has the freedom to launch a surprise attack at a place of their own choosing, where people are not ready. So such kind of incidents will happen. I mean, let me just say that zero incidents kind of a thing will never be possible when a state-sponsored terrorism is working in a particular place. But Pakistan is losing multiple wars, and the IWT being held in abeyance is the biggest uncertainty that brings in the short term, and in the long term that brings the economic ruin. And our main aim is to make Pakistan change its behavior. That's about all we want. We don't wish them well, but we don't want them to be continuing terrorism with us. And so that is our aim. We are aiming at. And in case in case they don't change that behavior, then obviously they will have to be punished time and again anytime they provoke.
Yeah, but it's a very tricky situation. First of all, there you have this multiple power centers or dual power center where army is acting on its own and you have a civilian government that the army does not report to. That is not how it works here. So that apart, again, you know, the whole duplicitous situation of how no proof ever works with Pakistan and they will cry foul asking for proof. And then, of course, backtracking. We spoke about Sajid Mir case. There have been other cases as well. The fact that they say we have destroyed LET and not acknowledging the fact that they have sort of, reinvented themselves as the TRF and, not acknowledging that that is also backed by Pakistan. So there are a lot of critical issues here. But I appreciate, the analysis given by Mr. Jayanta Chowdhury and Brigadier Rumel Dahiya today. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here on the program. Have a nice evening. And thanks very much for giving us your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. We continue with the broadcast and we, in fact, I would like to play out a little snippet of a report that we did earlier and what we think of Operation Sindoor and why I personally feel as the editor of Free Press Journal YouTube that the defense forces must be saluted today. They must be applauded. They do deserve the loudest applause. I leave you with this.
The loudest applause and, more importantly, the greatest respect for the way Operation Sindoor was conducted. And here are the 3 reasons why I say this. Point number 1, the targets were carefully chosen. It's not an arbitrary, indiscriminate sort of targeting. And I'm going to read from the Indian Army's statement that says that our actions have been focused, measured, and non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani military facilities have been targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution. Contrast this with what the terrorists, the PAK-backed terrorists did, where they chose innocent civilians, unarmed men and women, men who were eliminated on the basis of religion. Contrast this with the sort of restraint that India has displayed. Point number 2, the public was taken into confidence almost immediately. You had a media briefing represented by Wing Commander Neomika Singh, Colonel Sophia Qureshi, and Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, who gave out the details with great clarity, and that goes out as a heartwarming message to the wives of those who saw their husbands brutally massacred in front of them. Third important point here being that this is not an emotional knee-jerk reaction. This is the reaction of a mature nation. We don't want to be them. We do not want to display that sort of barbarity. What we do want to display is that we are a strong nation. We can send out a powerful message. Our defense forces are capable, and please do not think you can take the liberty to come into our territory and give us this sort of a severe blow and then that would go unpunished. That message has been sent across.